Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, April 25th, which puts us in a weird position because the next expansion, the single solo player experience, will be a live stream we do tomorrow on the 26th. Unless we can do it right now because we're on the Asian account or the European account. Let's see. We're back to 3 daily quests, and I'm noticing that even though we're getting easier quests, it seems like they've equilaterally, if not even gone even more so in the direction of not giving us 60, 80, and 100 gold quests, which might in the long run mean that the next expansion is going to actually have less than 50 cards that we can open card packs. I guess I want to get rid of win every game with the Druid and Hunter. And then we don't have to win any games, I guess. And then we can just play Priest class cards, which we're set up for that. We also have a Tavern Brawl. But first things first, I want to see if we can do this. Seeks Monsters hunting opens in 1 week. That's BS. It doesn't open in 1 week. It opens tomorrow. Okay, they didn't upgrade that. That's been a consistent problem with Hearthstone, is that they're just not good about telling dates. Hagatha is mixing up some special brew from her big book of the cursed recipes. Choose a class and sample some of the latest deck recipe concoctions. Hagatha apparently was supposed to be the main character according to the lore of the cards YouTube video that I sort of skimmed through. That I don't even know who makes that YouTube channel, but like she was supposed to be the main character in Witcherwood, and I got none of that whatsoever. Maybe tomorrow when we get to single player experience it will be better explained, but I really was left with a feeling that there literally was just no real story that they were telling. Surprise to everyone, I have finally finished Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition. It's not worth playing on retrospect. The 30 hours you're gonna play that game, it's just way too much. It's way too much grind. I've seen some other people be a little bit kinder to it than I am, but I pretty much hate it. So we don't need this, and we don't need this or this, so let's just start with that. And we'll see if this recipe that got played has only odd number cards, so we'll get an upgrade because of Baku the Moon Eater. Like, he's got even cards, I have odd cards. And so mine restores 4 health now, and his only costs 1 mana. And I believe this might be Chameleon. Wouldn't it be? I don't know. So yeah, I'm done with Darksiders 2. Now it's the time I'm gonna have to really think about what needs to happen as far as the next game that I play, and in what ways. Do I want to play Borderlands 2? That's the big question. Sorry, I broke up there. Yeah, the big question is, do I want to play Borderlands 2, or do I need to play a point-and-click adventure game or some other AAA or AA game to fill in my time slots? I imagine I probably do I do probably want to play Borderlands 2, but it would be okay with me to take a little bit of a break from the incredible grindiness of Darksiders 2. A surprising bit of voice acting decision was done in the last bit of additional content DLC for the Definitive Edition, which I assume was also additional content DLC for the non-Definitive Edition. It was just DLC I didn't ever actually buy when I first played the game on the Xbox 360, which would make a lot of sense since I didn't like Darksiders 2 the first time I played it any more than I did playing the Definitive Edition. It is slightly interesting watching. I'm halfway through watching the exact same person who did a Summer Games Done Quick speedrun of Darksiders 2 now play Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition, and there's a considerable amount of tricks that you just can't do in the Definitive Edition, which is pretty strange considering how buggy the game is. But it's just not the same bugs. The speedrun of the original version is super straightforward because you're doing the exact same out of bounds infinite jump trick that skips the entire 30-hour game in about an hour. Let's see, we need to continue to play cards. And if I do that, I guess I have no choice but to do that. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Did I say that the last bit of DLC in Darksiders 2 had the voice actor from who played Spike in Cowboy Bebop? That's one thing that I wanted to point out. There's this character, I think they just call him the Hunter. They really don't give names to many of the characters or say them very often if they do give names. And it's clearly the voice actor or somebody doing a perfect emulation of the character of Spike from Cowboy Bebop. Which, I mean, you just can't do that. That's such a recognizable voice that you can't have them do anything at all unless they can change their voice. And that's a growing problem in video games, is that it's the exact same voice actors over and over again, and they're recognizable, and it doesn't sound like a new interesting character. It sounds like whoever you recognize that voice as. And that last bit of DLC introduced the idea of a few humans surviving the apocalypse for no real reason, I suppose, because at the end of the day, wow, made progress on all of them. At the end of the day, at the end of the game, you resurrect all of humanity, so some portion of Darksiders 3 very easily is going to have Fury deal with humanity, and they have to be very careful there. They don't want to over feminize or over tie down Fury as one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse and make her not as badass as all the other characters. In fact, there's probably a need to make her slightly even more badass just to prove herself. If she gets tied down to a love interest, that would be a terrible mistake. If she is like Samus Aran in Metroid Prime 4, I believe, where the character is drastically changed, that would be a huge mistake. So you do want humans in there, but you don't want a love interest, and you don't want there to be some kind of childlike human that Fury decides to take care of, because that's not the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Like, deal. They don't care one bit about the humans. The angels and the demons really don't care about the humans either. It was, I believe in the first game, they said the humans would eventually evolve to be as strong as the angels and demons, and because of that, they would help maintain a balance between it, between them, and that didn't happen because of the apocalypse. So, ideally, in Darksiders 3, Fury is going to deal with some humans, but they're going to be basically quest givers, but hopefully the game is not anything like Darksiders 2, where it's an open world MMO style game, and hopefully it's going to be a much more linear experience like the first game. Let's see. Well, this is funny because we kind of know, don't we? No, I guess we don't. So I'm going to take King Mosh. Nope, it was that one. Oops. I guess I can just stop talking about Darksiders. It's been probably a month now. We'll move on to probably a point-and-click adventure game that I need to cover. Maybe a kid's game instead of a point-and-click adventure game for my early time slot. I suppose that now it would be 2:45 time slot. Now that everything is going to start airing in the next few months at 45 minutes on the hour. And then we're going to get to Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 is going to be an extremely long thing. I mean, you know it is. Because I want to do all the DLC. I want to play the entire main game all the way through. We're dangerously approaching the point where we're approaching the point where Borderlands 3 is going to get announced, and if E3 happens and they say Borderlands 3 is available now, like, that's going to really suck. Probably because, more than anything, I just really don't have the finances to buy a $60 to $80 game brand new. But I do have the finances to play Star Trek Adversaries, and so late night, around midnight after Monday's stream, I decided, you know what, let's try this. And it was the right move, certainly. The Star Trek Adversaries live stream video spotlight, and eventually I'll upload a better quality spotlight too. That has gotten a ridiculously high amount of views. I think we're slightly above 250 views in a couple of days. Way more than what I get from Hearthstone live streams that go a lot longer. Way more than any of my pre-recorded footage ever gets in the same time frame. Although, who knows if that's going to be the case in the long run. Let's see. Whenever a friendly minion is healed, can I do this? Nope, that won't work. Unfortunately, Star Trek Adversaries as a collectible card game is a mess in its beta form. And so that spotlight definitely proved to me I wouldn't want to play it. In comparison to Hearthstone, there's, from this point all the way around the screen practically, there's some kind of large indicator indicating something, most of which I didn't understand or know. It's just a huge mess. And then the center board is this 3D perspective with a single planet background, which I assume they'll eventually fix that and have more areas and backgrounds to keep that a little bit more interesting. Let's go with this cheap one. And the board itself can only have 4 ships, and there's 2 types of cards. There's ships, and there's crew. And the ships can have the crew go in either an attack or defense position. Some of them. Every single card seems to, for the most part, nearly every card that's available in the in the beta seems to have some kind of ability, but there's which is odd, because you would think you'd have a basic set of cards that were slightly more powerful but didn't have a special ability. Instead of Hearthstone, where you can have 7 minions on your field, you can only have 4 ships. All the ships do comparatively small amounts of damage to start off with. That's fine. Your hero is a fleet ship, and each fleet ship is unlocked through either grinding or buying things with money. There's a lot of stuff, hooks in it already, to make you buy things with money, but I think also, if you probably in the beta, maybe everything would get reset in the beta anyways, but if you put $50 into it, you probably would have all of the cards anyways. There's a big problem with it being Star Trek as a collectible card game, because all of this is battles. There's no card that says diplomacy, treaty, negotiation, meeting. There's nothing like space parasite, teleporter accident, clones. Nothing that ever occurred in any of the next generation that wasn't built directly around a ship shooting another ship is in the game. It's 100% a mix of all the Star Trek characters from all the series, with the exception, I don't believe, of STD, like Star Trek Discovery. Like, I didn't see anything in Discovery in the game. Maybe that's because I don't know what is from Discovery, really. But also, that's probably just because people don't care. Maybe they don't even have the license to Discovery. But there's certainly stuff from Enterprise. It seems like maybe a small bit of it from Enterprise. There's definitely stuff from Deep Space Nine and Voyager. There's definitely stuff from the original series and Next Generation. There's some weirdness where the color coding is wrong. They have engineering or your health labeled as yellow, when yellow gold has always been the command colors, like from the original series. And then they have your attack as blue, where blue is even more obviously the medical colors. So they just didn't color code their cards to match the original series, which would be the best series to really match it to. I mean, I know the going down to Next Generation and Voyager and all of that, there's less consistency with that stuff. But for them to be so off at the beginning is just kind of crazy. There's major problems throughout the entire interface. I played about 3 games in the Spotlight. One of them was against the Borg Queen, and for best I can tell, that was supposed to be the most difficult battle possible. It was super easy, and I was just about to win, and apparently I ran out of cards and just game overed. So no fatigue system whatsoever. They do also have a retreat mechanic for the ships, where you can drag the cards back and retreat them, and you would think by retreating the cards would go back in your hand, but no, they don't. They just disappear. And so the only two reasons why you'd ever retreat in the game are, one, you needed another slot since there's only 4 spots and then you can't play anything else, which is very, very odd considering you have as many, if not more, cards in your hand compared to Hearthstone. Let's just go ahead and do this. Just irritating. Some ships have Guardian, and some ships have rotating shields. I don't know what rotating shields even did, but Guardian is basically taunt, and so if you play something that doesn't have Guardian, then you've hit a point where the enemy can just attack your face and you destroy your main fleet ship. By far the worst part is the card management. There's like filters in the wrong place, things that don't make any sense. There's not really any cards in all those 38 pages, with each page seeming like it might be 10, so I would be surprised if they're starting off with 380 cards, and frankly it's kind of hard for them to add any more cards anyways, because they've covered all the main people. They have Borg, they have Q, they have Andorians, they have Romulans, Klingons. There's Federation and Klingon style heroes right now, so the game does start with these flagships that you can unlock. There's about, I would say, almost 2.5 times as many heroes as there are the Hearthstone, but I don't think anybody's going to ever really want to play all of them. You're asking quite a lot from the you're asking quite a lot from the people to grind through this game. There's clans already. I joined a clan. I believe the login system in beta is probably messed up a little bit because I created the account and then I couldn't log into the account. So maybe that's because of my password having some strange characters in it. Maybe it's because the system was just broken. But the card management, number one problem is you have 10 cards on there. And for every single character, you have like Wesley Crusher, the Doctor. I actually didn't see a card for Beverly Crusher in the game. Maybe I just overlooked it, or maybe there's some weird reason for that. I should have played this. When you hover over the mouse, even for a second, if the mouse goes over Wesley Crusher, it plays exactly one audio cue from the from Star Trek of Wesley Crusher saying something. Which means as you're moving the mouse around trying to click, because you can't drag any cards into your deck, you are constantly moving the mouse over characters making noise. And there's no mute button. You could probably go in the options and turn the volume down when doing your deck builds, but it's just a real mess. And the one suggestion I had here, and this is an idea that works kind of only for a very limited number of TV movie tie-ins, put a Twitch stream just right here in this section with Star Trek Adversaries, and everybody playing the card game is watching this Twitch stream that is constantly going through random Star Trek things, Star Trek episodes. Do something like that where you have a chat and you could lock in a significant number of, well, now I guess we can choose a different deck that might actually win. Let's try Hunter. you would lock in a lot of Star Trek fans to say, "Oh, I'm just gonna play this card game and play ranked and watch Star Trek with my fans." And even if the card game fails, that Twitch stream would probably work amazingly well. Put some advertisements in it, get some ad revenue from it, do everything to get CBS their money back. That would be such a great idea. See, that was kind of the problem with the most recent Ghost in the Shell game too, is that in the menus every now and then you'd see small clips of Ghost in the Shell episodes, but the thing that was bringing Ghost in the Shell fans to the game was the anime, and so if you could play that anime, that'd be great. But yeah, the card game's awful, and it's too specific. Hearthstone is so great because it's sort of based on World of Warcraft, but at any point they can just make any card they want. They're not beholden to following any real rules of the road or ideas. If they want to make a dire mold that is a slightly different version of a dire mold, they don't have to fight against any fanboys that would say, no, in the Star Trek universe there's only one kind of dire mold, and it looks like this. Yeah, I think you'd have to introduce alternate universes just all over the places for different, like Jean-Luc Picard's, different other kinds of characters, and you can only go so far with that because the Star Trek series has like the good universe and the bad universe, and that's all that's ever been really introduced. And you could do different timelines and maybe get somewhere with that, but probably not. So like, you're so limited on cards. They've already done the Klingons and like some Ferengi, some Romulan, some Andorian. So introducing a new expansion in Star Trek Adversaries is impossible, because you're going to have an expansion based on like species 8472 or something. It's just going to, every expansion is going to be less recognizable and less successful than the one before, as they start going down to deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole with Star Trek content. And as a surface level fan of Star Trek myself, I'm not super interested in that. Anyways, that spotlight's out there. I recommend people go check it out. It's kind of pointless to cover the entire thing. Also, we're in a weird position today because I need to cover a lot of games. Steam went insane and started retweeting things, which I assume what happened is their API messed up in some way, and because of that, it started retweeting old comments, and those old comments looked like new games, even though they were games from like August. They were telling me the August sale on Steam was still happening, and I'm like, there's no sale happening. So I need to get through a lot of this so that we're not covering any news in our stream tomorrow, because we just won't be covering news tomorrow in that special stream. Also, I don't want to be left with a ton of games. So there's a game on Steam called Cube Universe. Came out on April 24th. It is a clear and obvious Minecraft ripoff. It says it's early access for $6.99. I doubt anybody is ever going to pay any money for it. Let's see. Do this. PC Gamer has an article, Demon Souls in 4K at 30 frames per second on PC is a wonderful and terrifying. The RPC S3 PlayStation 3 emulator is apparently now capable of playing Demon Souls at 30 frames per second in 4K. I think it would be probably a little bit better to play it at 1080p at 60 frames per second if you can do that, but maybe it can't. Not having a 4K monitor and really any interest of playing a 4K games because I wouldn't be able to upload them. I'm still struggling to upload a long list of Hearthstone videos and trying to just free up my hard drive. Yeah, 4K is still not something that can interest me as a YouTube video game critic. Let's see. Board clear. Gematsu has Hitman Sniper Assassin rated for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC in Korea. So the question will be, is Hitman Sniper Assassin a continuation of the Hitman Sniper game, or it's a new game? The fact, like, Hitman Sniper for the iOS and Android and Hitman Sniper Challenge for the PlayStation 3, Xbox One, and PC both already exist. So it almost certainly is not going to be a full-on Hitman game. It's going to be a while until a new Hitman game could come out, considering IO Interactive's position of having to break apart from their corporate masters. Let's see. Do this, and then do this, and then can we adapt the beast? Nope. Okay, end the turn. Next game we have on Steam is called Survival Maze. It's an asset flip if I've ever seen one. Big old mess. 20% off for $1.59. No reviews. Moving on. Next game we have came out on April 25th. It's called Jurassic City Walk. It's apparently you play as a assortment of dinosaurs walking around an asset flip city. It does, on the face of it, start to look like almost like Rampage, if Rampage was in a 3D environment. And that's not a terrible thought. Like, that's exactly what we would want, is some kind of Rampage game. In fact, there was a Godzilla game that wasn't very good that's probably a lot better than this, which is mostly just an asset flip again. There was a Godzilla game sort of based around that idea of trying to... Let's see, we need to Flappy Bird and Wind Fury. After a minion attacks the hero, adapt. So this is Jurassic City Walk is 25% off for $4.49. One review, not recommended. A ridiculously lazy, cynical asset fest. Dinosaurs float over the road. Hitbox is huge. only one map that you run through over and over again. Awful controls, stay away. Yep, and that's pretty much what it looks like. But the idea is fine. Like, a rampage in 3D sounds like a cool idea. A faster paced rampage in 2D compared to the original game is also certainly an idea. Let's see if we can gain something with poisonous. This and this. Well, I'm dead. Let's see, open this, close this, close this. So, one of the video game creators that I follow put a blog out on Gamasutra, which we always have to remember Gamasutra seems to let people put blogs out as long as you have some kind of knowledge. I mean, maybe you don't even need any kind of knowledge. You could just put a blog out there. Like, could I literally myself put a blog out on Gamasutra? Is this just medium? Okay, so now all I have to do is actually win. So let's try Mage. And we're done with the European account. In fact, we're more than done because we only really needed to do 2 things. The blog is, how many wishlists should you have when launching on Steam? Well, of course, the answer is as many as possible. I recently spoke to a bunch of devs and asked them to share their wishlist related data because I wanted to know the relationship between wishlist and launch and sales at launch. And I figured this would help me. So this guy doesn't seem like he's speaking direct English as if it's his first language, because I think what he means, and maybe I'm just not getting it, is how many times should your game be wishlisted before you sell your game, which seems like an insane thing, that you would not release your game because it's not because enough people haven't wishlisted it. He goes on to have a paragraph that says 7-day wishlist conversions at launch. The idea here is you would want to put all of your games on Steam as coming soon so that people can wishlist it. For me in particular, it's certainly pretty obvious that I use my wishlist to mark games that have the potential of being good enough for me to cover, or being interesting at least to cover. And if a new game came out and it did not make it to my wishlist when it came out, it's pretty much 100% forgotten and has no chance of me ever buying it or seeing it. And it seems like his numbers, his charts, to some level are explaining that too. Like here he says that he's heard about developers trying to get 10,000 wishlists, which again I guess would mean 10,000 people wishlisted the game. Which I suppose if 10,000 wishlisted and 1,000 buy it, that's probably still slightly helpful information. But that's more of a blog for developers than it is for any end users like us and people just buying the games and playing it. 5 split amongst all enemies, or do I do something different? Just play this and this and do this, and then return. Eurogamer has an article. Destiny 2's road to recovery includes a rock hard horde mode. That is not what I thought this article was about. I thought it was saying that there was a hardcore rock music playing in one of the Destiny 2's mode, which I thought would have been really crazy. But instead it's just an article talking about how the updates that they're working on are going to have a very difficult horde mode. I don't think that's going to be enough to bring enough people back to Destiny, or people to Destiny 2 in the first place. I don't know which would be a more true statement. Let's see. Guess there's really no news of when Gamatsu is just showing us the new box art for the Japanese version of Octopath Traveler. Looks like an interesting box art, but particularly in the old days, and I would say probably still in the instance of Japanese games, the art on the cover could very easily not be indicative of what the game actually is. So yeah, this looks like it's a Square Enix RPG. Choose one from 8 characters. The update here says Nintendo has confirmed the same box art for North America and Europe. Okay, so it is coming to the West. Octopath Traveler. It looks like it's going to be an interesting game, so I'll keep an eye out for it. It's going to be on the Switch, so we'll see if it comes to the PC. Gamatsu has an article. Wizard of Legend launches May 15, a fast-paced dungeon crawler with roguelike elements. Swords of Ditto came out, and what's kind of weird about that is the fact that darn it. Well, I guess we'll play that for defense. I've heard on Giant Bomb, Jeff had played Swords of Ditto and he liked it, but then I went and looked on Steam and it was very mixed, and Jeff had only played a little bit of it, so like he wasn't 100% backing it himself. It has this weird time element where you can, if you figure it out, you can rewind time, but it still feels like it makes the game a little unenjoyable, and it supposedly has a roguelike element, but I'm not 100% certain on that one either. There you go. Deal 5 damage. So, I really don't know where to go with Swords of Ditto. I was hyped enough to open the page, and then my hype was knocked down when I really saw it. This game, Wizard of Legend, I mean, I guess maybe I'll wishlist it. It does look like it is still approaching something like a RPG Maker, 8-bit, maybe 16-bit pixel graphics, but watching the trailer, it seems to be pretty fast-paced, and this might actually be a good version of something like that. And I suppose I should celebrate good versions of RPGs over the many bad versions of RPGs. We've done everything on the Asian account. That is great. Good luck on the pack. Let's see. Well, space doesn't work then. I guess you have to hit space before you start opening the pack. So let's go ahead and dust now 4 out of 5 cards. And I guess I'm sort of kind of keep I'm trying to keep dust, I suppose. Like, maybe with the next expansion, I'll have such a large pile of dust that I could use that in some way to craft better decks. The one thing here is we are approaching the end of the month, and we're ranked 25 in Wild, which isn't that big of a deal. And we are ranked 22 on Standard, which is kind of a big deal. Like, we've done, I think, enough to get to chest, though. So we're going to get the card back, we're going to get the chest. Now we just need to move over to European and double check that that's the case for them too. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article, Saga SAGA Scarlet Grace for PlayStation 4, Switch, PC, and smartphones has a debut trailer, details, and screenshots. Which, how in the world? Like, seriously, how are you... What kind of game is this that you're able to put it on smartphones and consoles and it be the exact same thing? So let's watch this trailer. The characters are certainly catching my eye. It's... I don't know if this is a card game or what, though. So this is a 60. We don't want to trade it. No, it's probably... It's like a JRPG with little bits of the visual novel type conversations, which go with JRPGs. So let's get rid of this, I guess. Hunter and Mage, Druid and Rogue. They cost 2 or less. Tavern Brawl. Let's do Druid in play. So, seeing this trailer, it feels like the 3D graphics will probably not look so good on consoles. That they'll just be ever so slightly a little ugly, and then they'll be really, really ugly on mobile phones. And I don't know what company is making this game. Like, but they are certainly going out all out with like collectible editions and many releases. Let's see. The about doesn't really describe it too much. It's a Square Enix game, apparently, but I've never heard of this. It's due out August 2nd in Japan, so I assume this probably, if they're going to put such a push to release it all in Japan, that you'll probably see it come out to the West too. Although it doesn't, it just really hasn't caught my attention. There's just nothing there, so I'm like not even gonna bother to try and wishlist that game. Moving on. April 25th, a game came out on Steam called Go-Kart Racing. This might not be too bad. It does sort of look like a simplified, maybe an asset flip, but if it is an asset flip, it is consistent items. It's go-karts, people in the go-karts, and tracks, and maybe a cardboard cutout audience watching there. So it's pretty simplistic from what it looks like. Single player only, so no multiplayer. That's kind of a problem. 25% off for $14.99. And not a very original name. And that probably would explain why nobody's bought it. Let's see. This developer also made Roulette Simulator, Primary Buggy Racing, Project Tartan, the Albatross, Blackjack in Space, and most of their games are mixed or negative. I would say overall, at best, this developer has a rating of mixed as far as its products, and I don't think you would have the thing here. I'm not saying here is any kind of AI or guarantee that the AI knows how to drive, or any kind of significant amount of racetracks. It also becomes questionable. Why would you, in a video game, and this is not VR, by the way, this might make some sense if it was in VR, why would you want to play in a video game a go-kart racing game? That's not something like Mario Kart with power-ups and things, because I'm not saying anything here that indicates any kind of boosts or power-ups. This is legitimately just a real-world go-karting. Why not instead just play a racing game where you're racing actual cars? Like, go-karting already is a compromise of what you really want to do. And as a compromise you don't really need to have happen. So moving on, Gematsu has an article. Arc System works to release more fighting games for the Switch. Not, I guess, a big surprise. Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R for the Switch has already been announced, and it seems pretty much obvious that Arc System Works loves to flood the market with Guilty Gear style games or Guilty Gear games and get all these different variants. It probably makes them a decent amount of money. It's that Japanese style of, we're gonna release this version and then this alternate version and this alternate version and this collector's edition and that and that, and it kind of works. Although I would still put Guilty Gear at probably the bottom of the top tier fighting games. And let's see. Meanwhile, Blade Strangers is coming out for the Switch, PS4, and Stream, and I would say that's probably lower than Guilty Gear, so that games like this, I guess they're a new thing, so you'll have to decide whether you like it or not. It's from Nicholas Animation that did the intro, at least. Seems to be a combination of some crazy characters fighting. Oh no, Nicholas is a video game developer, not an anime studio. What am I thinking? I guess this is probably going to be a good year for fighting games coming out, if you're a fighting game fan. Which I'd like to be a fighting game fan. I just have yet to. Let's see if I play this. Let's just see what happens. Deal 3 damage to a minion. Attack. In the turn. PC Gamer has an article. Belgium's Gambling Commission rules against loot boxes in Overwatch, FIFA 18, and Counter-Strike Go. The report declared that loot boxes are in violation of the country's gambling regulations. I guess the simplified answer here that I've heard people say is they're saying loot boxes are gambling, period. I bet there's a more nuanced determination, but it might really just be them putting their foot down and saying, look, all loot boxes, no matter what you say, are gambling. There's no way you're going to get around it. You can't cheat the system. So the thing though is, and this is going to be a very poor and loose understanding of the European Union's laws. I believe Belgium is part of the European Union. So, assumption 1. I believe that European Union countries are required to enforce most, if not all, laws that other countries have. Assumption 2. Therefore, if Belgium's gambling commission is saying Overwatch, FIFA 18, and Counter-Strike Go, and pretty much anything else can't have loot boxes, assumption 3 would be this is the end of loot boxes in all of the European Union. And assumption 5, if we're up to 5, I lost count, would be that would so heavily burden the companies that they would just stop doing loot boxes everywhere else. I mean, that's the logical line through making 5 assumptions. But none of that could be true. Lemon Lover came on the chat and showed me a lemon. So, hi Lemon Lover. Yeah, this guy needs to be muted on my Twitter feed, doing some curation. Decided to mute Yahtzee, Croshaw. Once a video game commentary person for The Escapist. I mean, apparently he's still doing things for The Escapist. I thought The Escapist went out of business completely, but apparently not. He might be the only one left. Let's see. Deal 3 damage there. Do this. Give your minions +1 attack. And give your minions +1 attack. And do this. And then the turn. He's just becoming irrelevant. His coverage of games interesting in an entertainment form, don't happen with any consistency or fast enough. He's covering like 1 game a week, and that's just not a useful voice to have go into my ears. So I'm gonna still follow him on Twitch. I mean, not Twitch, but YouTube. But I don't see a real reason to have him on my Twitter, as my Twitter becomes this precious pipeline that I need to keep clear just for the what's on Steam stuff. So we made a little bit of progress there. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the space bar and see what happens. Hey, spacebar does speed this up, but then it just takes you to this point, and if you're holding down the spacebar, it doesn't flip the card. So if you were a seriously disabled person trying to open card packs, you probably wouldn't be playing Hearthstone anyways, but the spacebar is not being super useful. And that's 4 cards, leaving us with 1 new card to look at. This epic Spellbender card. Alright, that's probably a very good card to have. So we made good progress in this 45 minutes and well, about an hour actually. So if we'd have 3 really good streams, recordings today, that'd be great. Lets me save up my voice and get ready for tomorrow. And of course I'll need to stream Friday too, so that you're gonna get me every day until Saturday. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. If you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.